Setting goals is easy. Yes, I said it, easy. Think about all those New Year's resolutions you've set to save more money, to get healthy, to stress less. We've all done it. But by February, the motivation is gone, and by March, so is the goal. Why? Because goal setting is only the first step. If you don't have a system in place, the goal dies. But don't fret. I'm Janina, and I help women like you, creatives, 9-to-5ers, side hustlers, organize your life so you can reach your goals without burning out. And today, I'm sharing with you how to set better goals and put systems in place so you actually achieve them. And I'm going to cover the other key feature you need to live alongside your system so that you actually reach your goal. Let's make sure the next goal you set, you actually achieve. Goal setting is all about clarity. You need to be really clear on what it is you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, and what achievement looks like to you. And in order to gain this clarity, we're going to use the SMART goals framework. So that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Specific, what is it that you want to achieve? Measurable, how do you know when you've achieved it? Achievable, is it achievable, right? Is it a realistic goal that you can actually do? Relevant, does this goal actually matter to you? And time-bound, how long do you think it's going to take? Okay, so you've probably heard a lot about the SMART goals framework, or maybe you haven't, but either way, I'm going to walk you through a realistic example of a goal that I set at the beginning of this year. So let me just grab my iPad and let's get started. So at the beginning of this year, I wanted to invest more. I wasn't really quite sure what that looked like. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to invest and save or pick one or the other or do a combination of both. But that was just a very broad goal that I had. So I sat down and went through the SMART goals framework, and this is what I came up with at the end. In Q1 of this year, I want to define my financial targets for the year and set up automation so that I am guaranteed to hit those targets. Completing this will help me feel financially secure given the upheaval in the tech industry. Okay, so specific, I'm going to set financial targets. Measurable, I'm going to set up automations so I'll know exactly when I hit my targets, which will tell me when I've hit my goal. Achievable, defining targets and setting up automations feels like something that's achievable. Relevant, well, it's relevant to me because I'm in the tech industry and there's been a lot of upheaval within tech in the last couple years. And we have some upheaval, economically in this country as well. I'm in the US. So I just want to feel more financially secure for my financial health, but also for my mental health. And time bound. So I said I want to try to achieve this within Q1. So that's 3 months. And that feels like a pretty achievable goal for 3 months, but we'll have to see. A lot of times we stop defining our goal after we've set our SMART goal, but sometimes I think we get so caught up in the wording and checking off that SMART goal criteria that we really don't stop and think, is this the right goal for me? So before you commit to that beautifully crafted goal, ask yourself a couple questions first. 1, do I actually have room in my life right now for this goal? 2, what will I need to say no to in order to say yes to this? 3, does this goal involve other people? If so, how will this affect my timeline or the processes that I need to put in place? 4, does this goal depend on something that's completely outside of my control? I think this step is really key because a lot of times we set goals by what sounds good, what sounds smart, but we don't think about what's really best for us and what's realistic. When we set goals and we don't achieve them, we always think to ourselves, well, it must have been our fault. But sometimes it's not your fault. It's just the goal that you set. You've set a goal that you can't realistically achieve within your current situation right now. So consider those questions and revise your goal based off your answers. This might mean changing the parameters of your goal, or it might mean pushing that goal to a later time when you're at a place where you're better suited to try and pursue it. Let's go back to the realistic example for the goal that I set at the beginning of this year. Let me get my iPad again. Okay, so I did this exact same step. We already went through my SMART goal, but I wanted to reevaluate this to see, is this really something that I could take on in the beginning of this year? So here's a couple questions that I asked myself. Am I financially in a place to set monetary goals? What kind of targets do I want to consider? Investing, savings, some combination of both? Am I saving for something specific or saving for something general? What do I have to say no to? Well, I can decide to set targets based off my monthly budget. And when I set my budget each month, I'll know exactly what it is that I might need to say no to and therefore allocate less money to in order to reach this financial goal, whatever it may be. And lastly, I thought about what's outside of my control. What financial upheavals can I not plan for? Like, for example, something you can't plan for, God forbid, is losing your job if you happen to get laid off. That's something that would really affect any financial goals that you happen to be setting for the year. And that's not something you can control. So, based off my answers to these questions, I revised my SMART goal to be this. In Q1 of this year, based on my monthly budget, I want to define financial targets for the year and set up automation so that I am guaranteed to hit those targets unless a major life event happens. Completing this will help me feel more financially secure given the upheaval in the tech industry. I think that sounds like a pretty good goal for us to continue with. Let's take a quick pause. If this video is hitting home for you, tap that like button. It helps support the channel and it tells me to make more videos like this. Okay, so now we're on to the part where a lot of people skip, setting up the system. Now that we have our goals locked in, we need to reverse engineer them so we know where we want to be at the end of our time frame. And to do this, we need to think about what are the steps we need to take, when are we going to take them, and what systems and reminders are we going to set in place to make sure we stay on track. And this is where creating your system comes in. You can use a lot of different tools, planners, checklists, calendars, Notion, Trello, Xtiles. The amount of tools available for you to set up a system are numerous, and you can use something that's digital or analog. Do what feels right to you. But no matter what you choose, here's a couple things you need to consider when you're setting up that system. The amount of time you need to set up the system. We don't want a system where it takes longer to set up the system than it does to actually achieve the goal. The next thing we want to consider is the ease of use and the access of using our system. If you have a goal where the majority of the time you're planning and setting it outside of your house, but your system is a wall calendar that's stuck in the middle of your living room, that's not really the optimal place to have your system because it's completely outside of the scope of where you're completing your goal. You need to think about what steps you need to take. And for those steps, can you break them down even smaller into micro tasks? Does your system give you the ability to set time-based events? Or are you able to set reminders on your tasks or events? Does your system allow you to visually track your progress? Seeing progress can be incredibly motivational. Here's a couple options for you to be able to track your progress no matter what system you're using. You can use habit trackers, which, as long as you're not setting too many goals, can be okay. You can use progress bars. So, this is something that you can do in Notion. You can also do it in Google Sheets. You can use emojis or use some kind of color coded indicator for tasks that you've completed. And you can also create your own physical tracker as well if digital isn't your thing. And lastly, you need to think about what's the check in and review process for your system. Now, let's really dive into this because I think this is really crucial for any system that you set up, no matter how you set it up. One of the biggest reasons that people fall off track is that they never check back in. You need to set up weekly or monthly check-ins with yourself depending on the time frame of your goal to make sure that you are evaluating your progress and adjusting as needed. During these check-ins, ask yourself a couple questions. Am I making progress? What's working for me right now and what's not? Am I encountering any blockers? And include some mental blockers into this as well. Is there any part of my process that I need to update? Is this still a goal that I'm interested in and feel like it fits with me and fits in my life? And lastly, are there any milestones that you want to celebrate? This really goes back to the idea of micro tasks and breaking things down. Feel free to celebrate completing those tasks. Celebrate what you did for the week. Celebrate what you did for the month. You don't need to wait till you achieve your goal in order to celebrate. And speaking of achieving your goal, you also want to do a final check in once you've reached your goal or reached the time frame associated with your goal. During this check in, you want to ask yourself one, did you meet your goal? Two, what helped and what didn't? And three, what would you do differently next time? Okay, let's go back to my example goal. I set this up in X Tiles. So if you're curious what X Tiles looks like, it's pretty much a visual planning and productivity system. It's one of the newer ones out there, but it's really cool. So I wrote out an action plan checklist within X Tiles, and the first step was defining potential financial targets for the year. So for each of these targets, I thought about like what, when, how, why, how much. And then based off that information, I set like a priority level for low, medium, and high. So let me give you an example. Say, for example, one of my targets was invest in a brokerage account. And I might have said, okay, so I want to send a set amount of money each month to the brokerage account and invest in, let's get really specific here. Let's say Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, right? So that is our what, where, when, and how. And our why is, let's say we're going to use it for passive income so that we can achieve early retirement. That's always a really fun goal. Or I should say, that's always a really fun reason. That's not actually the goal in this case, because that's going to be a goal that would take a lot longer than just achieving in Q1. But either way, based off this information, I set a priority of high. So I set a bunch of different financial targets. And then after I did that, I looked at all of the information and I streamlined the targets based off my monthly budget and the target's priority level. So I looked at the amount that I would be likely to be able to set aside for either investing or saving, depending on the type of goal it was. And I used that along with the priorities of the goals to select very specific goals. And if I remember correctly, I think I only selected about 3 different financial goals that I was going to go with. Okay, so after I streamlined the targets, I defined the automation pathways that I wanted to set up to be able to easily achieve these targets. So, for example, um, let's take the investing in the brokerage account example. I could have set up a automation to transfer money from my banking account to my brokerage account, and even an automation after that to invest a certain amount of available funds each month into that Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. So after I figured out all of the automations that I would need to set up, then the last step would be setting up those automations. So I created all of the tasks that I would need in Xtiles, which has a built-in reminder system, which is another reason why I really like it. It was very easy for me to say like, okay, I need to do this on Tuesday. Oh, but wait, I need to do this every single Tuesday. And then I also set up weekly check-ins. So I do these weekly reviews. So I just added it as a little reminder to check in on my goal and how I was progressing towards it. And then I also have time that I set aside each month to do monthly budgeting. So I use that time to also do a monthly check in on my goal and pretty much to kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. And that was the system that I set up. And I knew that based off the system that I had created, unless something outside of my control happened, I knew I was going to reach my goal. And I actually did. Because the thing is, when you put systems in place like this with tasks and reminders and accountability, you stop hoping you're going to achieve your goal and you actually make it happen. Okay, let me run through a hypothetical for you. Say you've set up your goal, you made sure it was realistic for you, and you set up the ultimate system. But at the end of your time frame, you still didn't achieve your goal. Why? Well, you may be missing one crucial thing. The other key aspect that you need to work alongside your system is your mindset. Because you can have the most perfect system in the world, but if you're not in the right headspace, you're almost guaranteed to fail. So let's talk about 6 common mental blockers that are quietly sabotaging your progress, especially for side hustlers, creatives, and busy women trying to work their 9 to 5 and also build towards their dream goal. And we'll also talk about the shifts you need to overcome them. So, mental blocker number one, having a perfectionist or all or nothing mentality. I know I am certainly guilty of this one. So, if you're a perfectionist or have this kind of mentality, the kind of thoughts running through your head are probably, I can't do it perfectly. I just won't do it at all. I missed one day, so I might as well quit. You delay, over edit, and get stuck in an endless prep cycle. You give up instead of adjusting. For all of you out there, including myself, let's make a mental shift. Done is better than perfect. Progress is messy, and that is okay. Consistency will always beat out intensity. And be kind to yourself and celebrate the small wins. It's not all about the ultimate goal. Mental blocker number two, fear of failure. Someone with a fear of failure might be thinking something along the lines of, what if this doesn't work? You'll stay in the planning zone forever and never take action. Because if you never take that action, you'll never fail, which is a good thing, right? Wrong. We need to shift this mindset. Reframe that failure as feedback instead. Every step that you take teaches you something. There's a reason why some of the most successful people in the world don't look at things in terms of failure and success and look at everything in terms of experiments. They are simply testing out a theory and iterating based off of the results they get. And funnily enough, we get to number three, fear of success. Yes, this is a mental blocker as well. If you have a fear of success, you might be thinking something along the lines of, what happens if I actually pull this off? You unconsciously self sabotage yourself because success also means change and visibility and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Shift that mindset and normalize success. It is okay to grow, to evolve, to take up space. Success is not a bad thing. Success is a result of the growth and the time and the energy that you put in. Okay, mental blocker number four, imposter syndrome. If you're suffering with this one, you might be thinking, who am I to even do this? You doubt your abilities, you downplay your progress, and you hesitate to share your work. But consider this instead. You don't need to be the most qualified person in the room. You just need to be committed. It is okay and frankly expected to grow on your journey. So shift your thinking. You don't need to be the most qualified person in the room. You just need to be committed to the journey that you're on and enjoy that journey. Take joy out of the learning experiences that you're going to have along the way. Number five, feeling overwhelmed. You might be thinking, there's too much to do. I don't know where to start. You start spinning your wheels and nothing ever gets done. If this is you, just break it down. Don't think about that staircase you need to climb. Just think about that one tiny step. Don't think about the goal that you need to achieve that feels so insurmountable to you. Just think, what's one tiny thing you need to do? One micro task. We talked about that earlier. One micro task that you can do. Maybe it's 15 minutes of something that's going to quietly and slowly move you towards that goal and celebrate doing it. And the sixth and final mental blocker is comparison. This is huge in today's era of social media. It's so easy to go online and look and find someone who's doing it better, who's doing it faster. And you start to ask yourself, what's the point in even trying? But instead of going down that rabbit hole, instead consider doing this. Celebrate their success and then refocus back on your lane. Your pace is progress, and you do not have to run at the same speed as someone else. Don't worry about what it is they're trying to achieve. Just focus on reaching your goal however you need to and whatever time it takes because it's your goal. It's not about anyone else. If this video gave you the confidence and tools to actually achieve your goals, that's amazing, but don't stop there. While you're working towards your goals, you also need to take care of your health, both mentally and physically. So if you haven't already, check out this video next where I share self-care strategies designed specifically for busy creatives like you. If this content is what you need to keep moving forward, hit that subscribe button. I post weekly tips to help you plan, organize, and create that dream life without burning out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!